A highly respected veteran who has served this country at 3 of its highest levels is under fire today from Donald Trump's out-of-control Pentagon. And coming up next, I'll break down who he is and the extreme measure he's being threatened with. I'm Dan, and welcome to another Occupy Democrats report. Please hit that subscribe button to get all of our coverage on Donald Trump's war on everything. And now let's jump into his latest clash with Democrat leaders and the escalation with one of them in particular, a former Navy pilot, an astronaut, and currently a U.S. Senator. I'm speaking of Mark Kelly from Arizona, who recently appeared in a Democrat message video that sent Trump into a tailspin. Have a look at his recent appearance on the Bulwark podcast to get his reaction to Trump's wild overreaction and previous threat via social media, and then I'll share today's new threat made by the Pentagon.
We are here to talk about Donald Trump's pretty overt threats to him and other lawmakers to essentially try you on sedition and hang you. I hate to be so blunt about it, but that is what he said, right? I mean, he was on True Social saying that. All right, so Senator, I just got to be upfront. How did you find out about Trump's posts yesterday, and what was your immediate reaction to them?
And one of the staff members come in with a little piece of paper, and on it was, written basically what the president said, paraphrased. And then she leaves the room. She comes back later and she says, oh, yeah, he also threatened to have you executed. And we put out a video, which was, basically talking about people's lawful and constitutional responsibilities. And his response is we should be executed.
Well, let's talk about the video. So the video, it's you and a number of other lawmakers, including Senator Slotkin. You're reminding people in the armed services that they do not legally have to obey an unlawful order. What was the impetus for that video?
Well, the president has sent troops to U.S. cities. Recently, a judge said that deployment to Los Angeles was illegal. Prior to that, in his first administration, he's talked about shooting protesters in the legs, asked that question of his Secretary of Defense. So you can see how he has a, predisposition to overstep his authority and, legal standing to do things as commander in chief. We thought this was an appropriate time just to remind them of their responsibility under the Constitution, under the oaths. I think his statement also shows the rationale for why we were compelled to say this. So his response to us telling members of the military that they do not and should not comply with illegal orders is for him to suggest to do something to us which is illegal, murder us. That's his reaction. I think this is all part of his overall, the way he comports himself and the way he has acted during his presidency to look for opportunities basically every day to figure out how do we further divide the American people.
Those are just the highlights of the Sam Steen interview. For the entire video, please visit thebulwark.com. Kelly said this is Trump basically every day, and staying true to form, it looks like Trump gave Pete Hegseth an order today to attack the senator with the full weight of the Pentagon.
The Pentagon is threatening to court-martial Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly after he took part in a video last week urging troops to defy any illegal orders coming from the White House. The agency says it's looking at possible breaches of military law by Kelly, who served as a fighter pilot for the U.S. Navy. Let's bring in our congressional correspondent, Jay O'Brien, for more. So, all right, tell us, I guess, first of all, what exactly is the Pentagon saying here?
Yeah, and this is the strongest step we've seen so far, Kira, of the White House trying to hit back against this video that drew the president's ire. He said that those members of Congress who engaged in this video committed sedition, and that's something that Republicans on Capitol Hill largely backed him up on. And in this statement from the Department of Defense, they say that there are, quote, serious allegations of misconduct. They point out that the lawmakers who engaged in that video possibly could have violated, and this only applies to Kelly because he is a retired naval commander. It doesn't apply to the other lawmakers in this video who have either intelligence backgrounds or a different way their military service ended. But, quote, the Uniform Code of Military Justice prohibits actions that, quote, interfere with the loyalty, morale, good order, and discipline of the armed forces. And the allegation that the DOD makes here is that this video may have done that and could open Kelly up to a possible court-martial. The reality here is, Kira, though, I just went back through the video again because it was in the headlines all last week, just to kind of walk you through what Kelly said on tape in the video. All he says in that video, and I'll read you the quotes from him, are, quote, "You all swore an oath," referring to active duty members of the United States military. And then he goes on to say, quote, "Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders." And then he says, "Your vigilance is critical." That is largely the extent of what Mark Kelly says. And so the argument that the DOD is making here is that that could violate the Uniform Code of Military Justice, just those statements alone. We have not heard back from Kelly yet today. We have asked his office for their reaction to all of this. But previously, he has said, just as recently as this weekend in posts directed at President Trump, that he won't be intimidated from doing his job.
Donald Trump's bluster on social media is one thing, but he just crossed a dangerous line by threatening to court-martial Senator Mark Kelly for sharing the fact that military personnel can refuse illegal orders. That simple, truthful statement triggered Trump, who lashed out by smearing Kelly and other lawmakers as seditious, a lie that has been amplified by loyal Republicans and MAGA influencers. And now the Pentagon has escalated Trump's tantrum into one of his favorite weapons, an official threat. But Senator Kelly is not backing down. This showdown matters because if Kelly is silenced, it will be a win for Trump's authoritarian role, and we will get more of the same. But if Trump backs down, it will send a message to others, including those in the military, that the bone-spurred commander-in-chief is vulnerable and he can be denounced and defeated.